the keto flu and keto and intermittent fasting. We are starting week 2 of the 30-day keto challenge. This is Jane Mitten with Jane Does Keto, and I hope you're feeling great. I hope you have more energy and more clarity of mind and spirit, and a calmness that also comes when you're burning ketones instead of glucose or sugar. So one of the things that can happen, that has just happened to me, is you can go into something called the keto flu. It is not the flu. You're not getting a cold. You're certainly not getting COVID. Nothing serious is happening except your body is moving into a ketogenic state, and that is great news. So let me explain the keto flu. Some of the symptoms are fatigue, headache, nausea. You might have insomnia, and upset stomach are common abnormalities of keto flu. This is something that can happen, but it will just take a few days and you'll be out of it. One of the reasons that you can get into the keto flu is to have an electrolyte imbalance, and that can happen with the fasting as well. So if you're doing both, which you should be, many times you'll feel this way for a few days, and it can come and go. You might have it at the beginning, and you might get it in a few months. Last year, when I started keto and fasting, I never had it. So it's definitely not something that's going to happen to everyone, but it can happen. The electrolyte imbalance, your electrolytes, potassium, sodium, magnesium, they form a balance in the body. And if either or all of them are down, then you can start to have feelings of restlessness, upset stomach, insomnia, fatigue, all of those things. So one of the ways to combat it is by putting high quality sea salt in your water. Obviously, the main thing would be to drink a lot of water. So by now, hopefully you've gotten off any sugar drinks. Obviously is probably the worst thing you can do. Any drinks with sugar. And then you want to get off carbonated beverages, so fruit juices, carbonated beverages, and obviously the sugars and the heavy carbs. What you want to do is put the sea salt in your water. You want to drink water regularly, often, and probably half of your body weight in water a day. You might not be able to do that in the beginning if you haven't been drinking water. The other thing is you want to slow down your exercise. You don't need to be doing, 3 to 4 miles of running a day. Some people aren't even walking. And although it's good to get outside and move, in the beginning, it might be tough and you might not be feeling like that. So don't worry, these things all change. The slowdown is as your body adapts to the ketogenesis process. So just know that if you do have some of the symptoms of the keto flu, that those will change. And if you do drink more water with sea salt, maybe take an electrolyte supplement. There's many on Amazon. Just, again, check the content nutritionally and make sure there's no added sugars and things like that, and you should be fine right away. I actually was feeling that way this morning. I drank a little water with sea salt followed by some electrolytes, and now I feel fine. So we are in week 2 of being on keto and several days into intermittent fasting. The one that is most recommended and is kind of the easiest to follow is the 18-6 method, which means 18 hours of fasting a day with a 6-hour eating window or pattern. You're not with fasting, you're not taking away your eating. You're simply changing your pattern of eating. And in doing so, you're giving the body a greater chance to repair and restore itself. So what you're doing is you're eating at, 12 or 1 o'clock. Then you have dinner at maybe 5 or 6 o'clock. And then you're not eating until the next day at 12 or 1 o'clock. And that's when all of the great restoration will occur in the body. And in fact, what most people find is from anywhere from 5 a.m. to 12 noon, 1 o'clock, when they're awake and they've been fasting overnight, that's when they find the most clarity of mind, that brain fog is gone, the energy levels have skyrocketed because you're burning your own body fat and you're not burning glucose. So many people have told me, and I've found for myself, that is the time of day I'm at my absolute most productive. That's when I do my writing. That's when I do my exercise while I'm fasting. And I would highly recommend those things to you. If you need to have meetings and you need to go on Zoom or do writing or planning, events for your company, anything like that, or your children or yourself, I would highly recommend doing as many of those as you can between 6 a.m. and 12 to 1 p.m. because you will definitely feel something you've never felt, just a peacefulness and yet a clarity at the same time with a skyrocketing amount of energy. So, here's how to tell if you're burning ketones. You are not hangry. You should by now, within the first 7 days or more, and we are on day 9, actually, we're on day 9, you should definitely not feel the hangry feeling you did on heavy carbs, such as rice, pastas, potatoes, pizza, of course, anything to do with sugar, such as cookies, cake, ice cream, alcohol, as a lot of people call it, the good stuff. This is not the good stuff. Take it from someone that is, been as small as 93 pounds and way more than that. And when I was eating those foods, I was much less productive, had much less energy. Cognitively, I felt like there was a cloud, or as many people say, a brain fog, and that all lifted, and it lifts immediately on keto. So, how to tell if you're burning ketones? Obviously, the fastest way to tell is to buy the little strips that you pee on, and you can then clearly see if you're in ketosis or burning ketones. You want to be between 0.5 and 1.5 on the scale to know if you're in the right range. So that should have happened several days ago. And in fact, it can happen to people as early as 24 hours in to a ketogenic diet. Some people it can take a week. But there is a difference between burning ketones and being in ketogenesis. And that period can take 2 to 4 weeks. So that's where we are. That's why we're doing a 30-day. And some of the things that you notice if you are burning ketones is, again, you're not in that hangry, hungry mode. Your mental acuity, clarity, and focus is greatly increased. You have much more sustained energy. So it's not simply bursts of energy like you have if you have, a candy bar or something like that. You have a sustained amount of energy, and you have it throughout the entire day. So some things to help you today would be make sure you're drinking enough water. And generally speaking, if you are fasting, if you throw a little sea salt in the water, that greatly helps because it, kind of rejuvenates your electrolytes. That idea before you eat of just asking yourself a simple question, am I actually hungry right now? People that are eating the wrong way, heavy carbs and sugars, whether they're bone thin or have 200 pounds to lose, usually don't ask themselves this question. And that is, am I actually hungry? If you're not hungry, don't eat. Period. End of story. Even if you're on OMAD, which is what I'm on, which is 1 meal a day, you can imagine if you it's a hard process to come to terms with. Even at that point, if you're about to eat at 4 or 5 o'clock, you haven't eaten since the 24 hours before, you still ask yourself, am I hungry? And if I'm not hungry then, if I just think I'm conditioned to sit down and start eating, then I wait. And I'll wait, an hour, 2 hours. I might even wait till the next meal time. And that is a very important factor because you're getting used to listening to your body and your mind, because the mind controls the body. So you have to start taking control of that so that you are always aware. And if you're aware, you're not going to probably eat those other foods. So that's a great idea. Think of that today. Other things are you getting enough sleep? A lot of times when you go into ketosis, you have a little bit of a problem sleeping. And that's to be expected. That's normal. And frankly, you don't need as much sleep when you're in a ketogenic state. I'd still strive for 7 to 8 hours. But if you don't hit it, sometimes you don't need it. So just remember the quality of sleep is most important, as is the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. window, which is the ultimate sleep time. Another thing you might notice is you have much fewer cravings for the carbs, the sugar, the alcohol, because you are moving towards the ketogenesis state. That's a great thing. Your gut will be reset. You will be recharging your microbiome of your gut. And that means all the bacteria are getting renewed, refreshed, and that helps all the organs in the gut area, which is so important. Are you drinking more water than caffeine? I hope so. I am not a person that drinks caffeine. I kiddingly say that Starbucks has banned me, and they haven't, but if I drink coffee, I become, way too energetic and hyper. So I leave it to tea. Of course, you can have coffee, and I will be doing a video, but there are things like Bulletproof Coffee. And what that means is that you're taking your coffee and you're putting either MCT oil in it, or you're putting, if you can imagine, a tablespoon of butter in your coffee, or ghee, Ghee. Again, another form of a high fat. It comes in a kind of like a bottle, and it looks like a solid. You put any of those things in coffee, and if you're going to use any kind of milk product in your coffee or tea, of course this is true of tea too, you want to use high fat. It's always going with the heavier fat as opposed to non-fat or low fat. Those things usually contain carbs. You want to eliminate them. So you want to actually use full cream, and not a creamer, but a full cream that's organic and whole. And you put those in your coffee or tea, and that can give you the Bulletproof Coffee, or you can make something like a London Fog and put full cream in your Earl Grey tea. But either way, that is something you can certainly do while you're fasting, and you still stay in a fasting ketogenic state. But if you eat, you don't then stay in that state. A couple other things you might want to consider is that while you're fasting, you're building metabolic flexibility, which means your body's much more able to go kind of in and out of the fast as you eat, and you're lowering your insulin levels, so you're lowering insulin resistance, which we all want, and you're eating healthy fats such as avocados and avocado oil. It would be good to sip some tea. If you're going to do exercise, maybe for the next few days, as you kind of ease into your intermittent fasting, you do a little less exercise. Maybe you're walking fast instead of running. And if you weren't doing anything, maybe you're just strolling. Do a little stretching. Make sure you're doing the breathing, and you're keeping a calm and clear mind now. you're motivated by your results. They may be on the scale. You may feel that your clothes are a little looser. Just the thought that you have more energy, a calmer, clearer mind, and you're not hungry is results enough for me. But you'll be certainly, as you're healing the inside of your body through healthy fats, the clear proteins such as salmon, and high quality beef that's organic, all fish. If you do poultry, you have to have fats on the side as well, like a half an avocado. But as you do that, and especially in terms of carbs, what I suggest and what I'm doing is pretty much just eating the green leafy vegetables, all of the kale, the mustard greens, microgreens, any lettuces. I eat those organic because you are eating, it's not like it's a cover like an orange that you can peel off and then you're left with something pristine. It's much better to buy those organically. And if you're only eating 2 meals a day, you can afford to spend a little more money on the quality of those foods. So keep thinking that your health is your wealth, and whatever you put in your mouth should be as high a quality as you can find. And if you ever go to an OMAD eating plan, which is 1 meal a day, which is what I'm trying right now while we're doing this together, then I tend to spend even more money on the quality of the food because I'm only eating once. Obviously, if you do that, you need to eat more food at that time. But to sum up, we are on day 2, week 2 of our 30-day keto challenge, and you should be feeling significantly better than you did 9 days ago. And if you do get the keto flu, kind of fatigue, headache, insomnia, stomach ache, these things will go away, and they're usually caused by an electrolyte imbalance. So drink some water with some sea salt, have some electrolytes in your water, and you'll be feeling better right away. This is Jane Does Keto, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Jane Mitten, and I'm Global Jane on Instagram. And I'm here to help. Just send me any questions you have at globaljane@gmail.com. And let's do it together. We're moving on tomorrow to day 10. That is very significant. That means we're a third of the way through. And this is just the beginning. It's going to take 66 days to make this a habit. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Have a great day 9. You're doing great. Keto and fasting is a lifestyle for the rest of your life, and mine too. Congratulations on how well you're doing.